So we want...
Support the Amigos podcast on Patreon or PayPal and receive cool perks and rad swag. Visit our page at everythingamiga.com/support.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Hook.
Yeah.
But before we get into Hook, Aaron, I know you have a deep and abiding love of Peter Pan.
I do. It's funny you should mention that. I didn't know anything about Peter Pan, so I looked stuff up on it today. What do you think about that?
Did you see the movie Peter Pan, like the Disney movie?
Long ago.
Now, I'm going to go one back on you.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you ever see the televised stage play Peter Pan starring Mary Martin?
I did see the televised Peter Pan starring Sandy Duncan.
Okay.
Bam! What do you think about that?
I think the Mary Martin one was first. I don't know that I saw the Sandy Duncan one.
Everyone knows Sandy Duncan. No one knows who you're talking about.
Who is Sandy Duncan?
So you don't... Sandy Duncan?
Was she on the Partridge Family?
No, she was everywhere back in the day, 70s. She was known. She was a kind of a spritey, mannish lady and she had one bad eye.
I think I may be thinking about Sandy Duncan.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I remember
what was the girl
one
you
bad
mentioned?
eye. Mary Martin.
I don't know who that is. So explain.
Well, Mary Martin was the first person to play Peter Pan on Broadway because Peter Pan has traditionally been played by a woman.
Correct. Yeah. I believe they've recently done Peter Pan on like one of these live. Hasn't one of the big networks done it recently?
I don't know that they've done that one yet. I know that this has been a trend that they've been doing on network TV recently, the live Broadway musical.
You know, the best part of researching this game this week was to just, because I was talking to my buddy at work. I'm like, I've seen the cartoon, I'm familiar with the story, but I don't know jack squat about where it came from. Like what year? I didn't know either. Did you know? Do you know who wrote it? What year? Which
Peter
Pan? It was in? Yeah,
as a J.M. Barrie.
That's right. Did you look at my sheet, or did you actually know that? What's the JM stand for?
I don't know. I'm gonna guess 1918, but I could be early.
The first appearance of Peter Pan was in a book called The Little White Bird.
I did not know that.
1902, an adult novel, and the chapters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, from what I've been told, Peter Pan did a lot of stuff in the books that wouldn't fly in the movies.
He knows how to crow, if you know what I'm saying.
But it was an adult novel, and then the chapters 13 through 18 were entitled Peter Pan in Kensington Gardens. And he also appeared in a set when that one took off. He came back in 1906 under the title Peter Pan in Kensington Gardens with new illustrations and stuff. And so that's what took off. So it got over, and then it went from
Now,
there.
tell me about your personal history with PP, as we call it.
The double P. Mm-hmm. My personal history is El Zilcho. Like, there was nothing that appealed to me about the cartoon.
Which, it's funny to me because you are the boy that never grew up.
I grew out.
But I mean, all the stuff that you liked to do when you were a kid, you still like to do now.
That's true. Well, I didn't say the message didn't resonate with me, but just that the movie just seemed dumb to me. I mean, and the cartoon was well drawn. It was Disney. It was beautifully done, beautifully rendered. But it wasn't one. It's funny that old Disney animated cartoons. There wasn't any that I really got into that much.
This was not.
I wasn't a Disney guy. Like the first thing I saw like Bedknobs and Broomsticks and the Rescuers.
Well, you sort of came of age when Disney was at its low ebb.
Well, but I mean, their stuff was still there. Now I'll say in recent years. Like, I really love Fantasia. It's a tremendous, probably one of my favorite films from the Disney catalog. But Peter Pan just wasn't one. Just like the Jungle Book. I think you heard the songs and stuff from it. It just didn't do it for me. Mm-hmm. It just seemed kind of stupid too to me. I don't know. Also, the pirates portrayed like a dork. Come on.
You like your pirates non-dorkish?
Listen, you're telling me a pirate can't thump Peter Pan?
Peter Pan can fly.
He's got a whole crew. Yeah, but what's he doing tangling with him then? And taunting him and stuff. If you know you can't beat him, take your ship and roll, brother.
That's true. That's true.
The guy can fly. He's got magic. He's got a fairy. Hook's already a disadvantage. He's missing a hand.
That's true.
He's got a crew full of idiots. Mm-hmm. What are you doing there?
He's living in fear of a crocodile that he could easily just move the ship to a different bay.
Plus, you're in Neverland or whatever, Neverland. How much piracy is to be done? Is there a big port trade on Neverland? Highly unlikely.
Hard to know.
Is he eating boys?
We'll have to wait for the dark, edgy reboot to reveal.
We don't
those
ever
questions.
need that. We don't ever need that. So it never did it for me, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And like I said, I never really knew who wrote it until I looked into it.
Well, I have my own Peter Pan upbringing, and I love Peter Pan. I think Peter Pan's a great story. And my brother, you know how sometimes, and this didn't happen to me, I don't think, but my brother, who's 6 years younger than me, grew up in the age of the VCR. Every day when he came home from school, he would start the Mary Martin and or Sandy Duncan version of Peter Pan, and he would just watch it every day.
He was really into it.
Yeah. This is when he was in like kindergarten, preschool, something like that. So I watched this over and over and over again because I would come home from school, it would be on. And so that's what I think about when I think about Peter Pan. And of course the songs, the songs they're all there. I don't know if they're good or not, but I know all the songs.
What are the songs? Name some of the big ones.
Never smile at a crocodile.
What's the big hit?
We're off to fight the engines. They probably wouldn't sing that one anymore.
No, I don't think I would play.
You can fly, you can fly, you can fly.
See,
that one?
It didn't do it for me. I'm sorry.
Well, I want to talk a lot more about Peter Pan. Specifically, I want to talk a lot more about Hook. But before we do, Aaron, we need to go over to everythingamiga.com and see what's been going on over at our site du jour.
Well, the main man he's actually put up a couple little goodies here. Let's talk about the first offering here. Games coder Steve Howard discusses the real first proper Wipeout Amiga title.
What does that mean, the real first proper?
I don't know if you listened to Amigos last week. I think it was last week when me and Britt talked about, or maybe me and you, when it was me and you. They actually, Wipeout, the game.
I do know Wipeout, the game.
Do you
know Wipeout, the game, the movie?
I don't. Let's hope not. Anyway, there was a real, a much less heralded version of Wipeout that was released. And Dreamcatcher actually interviews the guy that worked on it, Steve Howard. I actually read this article, and it's kind of interesting. This is one of those classic, when you look at these games in 2020, and you look back on them, and you're like, this is crap, this is great, this programming house was no good, this is crap. You don't really get the big picture. These guys that were journeyman programmers were people that fluctuated back and forth between different houses. They were under the gun, or these guys demanded that this happen in the game, or they needed this feature.
It's your classic post-mortem, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that stuff's kind of interesting.
I love that stuff. I love that stuff.
And so that's basically where we go here. And this is sort of a two-part interview with Steve. Also, if you backtrack to the main screen, he's also just put up another one, which I haven't got to read this yet, where Steve Howard discusses his work on Terminator 2 and No Escape. Which actually Terminator 2 was pretty good. I kind of like that. So good stuff. I haven't got to read the second part yet, but it's definitely on my short list. It's funny. Dreamcatcher often gets these interviews with these various programmers and designers. It's kind of neat. He's got a lot of. I think it's just. I think the way he lands a lot of this stuff is just straight up determination, looking them up and getting into it.
He goes off and he knows he can beat the bushes, as they say in reporting speak.
That's right. That's right. So I highly recommend checking these out. Also, again, I always pitch it, but Dreamcatcher's YouTube channel is always worth a look, and he's been adding some. Like I said last week, he added some Rocky Horror Picture Show stuff, so it's always good for a lot. So it's wacky. Prepare yourself for wackiness, bud. But you know how that goes.
Well, Aaron, it's been almost a month since our last view of the Gamble Train.
Yeah, you're right.
So it is pulled back into the station, and it is ready for action. It's overloaded. There is Amiga news spilling out the sides of the Gamble Train.
Let's get into that.
All right.
Because I probably missed a lot of this stuff.
First thing up, we've got Recoil. Recoil is another. Remember last year there was an Amiga or an Atari ST to Amiga conversion. I'm trying to think about what the name of the game was. It was a pretty well-known game that got an Amiga conversion from the ST. You don't remember what it was, do you?
The one I remember the most was Karateka.
Yeah.
I know there was another one. Yeah.
So this is a game called Recoil.
Okay.
And this is an interesting. This is sort of like Defender. This looks really good. Imagine if you've got Defender, but you are attached to the ceiling, and you are basically controlling the entire top part of the screen while you're blowing things up and rescuing things with a radar below you instead of above you.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
What a weird thing.
Yeah. But Recoil was a pretty big ST game, and we're finally getting an Amiga port from it. So it's pretty cool.
So this was a huge game on the ST.
Right.
I'm dying to hear the story behind this contraption here.
You know, it's funny. The more you think about it, the less sense it makes. Because you know, not only are you controlling this thing that's attached to the ceiling, but the entire ceiling seems to be able to move. So I don't know how that works.
I wonder if the Atari ST had a proper, because this is Atari, so I would assume that they would. But I wonder if they had a proper actual Clonal Defender on the Atari ST.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
I don't know.
And because clearly this is obviously very similar, although there's a lot of wacky stuff going on. So yeah, we have to check this out. Say it's out or it's coming?
This is I believe that this is already done.
Okay, it looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we'll have to check that out. Let's see. Next up. This was huge news when it came out. Everybody knows about it by now, but we still haven't talked about it. Sensible World of Soccer has been released. The Sensible 2020 has been released for both the modern PCs and the Amiga. Windows, Macintosh, Linux, and the Amiga. This brings with it all of the new features. There is so many cool things that have happened in terms of what you can put in terms of importing like chants, crowd chants, different textures for the pitch, stuff like that. I know that you're not the biggest Cincy fan in the world, but you've gotta kind of acknowledge the fact that this is pretty cool.
I like when they update classic sports games with rosters and stuff, but actually adding features is double cool. So I'm all for it, and I did like Cincy. I mean, I think it's a lot of fun. Funny, me and Brent played this a while back too, so that's a good game, and I always dug it. We're stinky at it, you know. I'm sure there were many people playing this in Ireland.
Oh yeah, whole Cincy tournament.
Was this? Were they actually playing this version?
No, I believe that they were playing the SWAS, the original SWAS.
But so this has been released on the Amiga and the modern.
Right.
Very good.
Yeah, very cool.
That's awesome. I love that.
Aaron, you can talk about this one. So, Hacker was available on the Amiga. Came out on the Amiga, but it has never been cracked until just recently, or never been fully cracked, I guess, with everything completely working. So, ScoopX, which is a name from back in the day, and I guess they're still active now, has released a fully working crack of the title Hacker. Now, tell me what you remember about the game Hacker.
I don't remember a whole lot because my buddies had this on their C64s. I remember it took us forever just to actually get the game to start. I mean, you have to sort of...
You have to hack into it, huh?
Yeah. But I remember my buddies were super into it, and I always thought it was kind of neat. A lot of people would look at this and be like, this is garbage. But, again, this is someone I love Neuromancer for the exact same reason. I think it's neat to kind of like have a faux like internet that you're actually sort of like doing the thing with. And I think it's kind of neat. So I might check into this.
Cool.
That looks like it'd be a lot of fun. It's awesome that someone, again, another game they went back to take care of it. I think that's great.
And of course, all of these new games come to us directly from Neil over at Indie Retro News and our boy Saberman.
I will say Neil popped in a couple times to your Ireland broadcast, and I actually chatted with him, trying to put the cocoa over to him, by the way. He was in the room and he was checking them out. So he's a good guy.
Cool. All right, Aaron, Tenmark. This is the first of 2 Tenmark videos we have.
Wow, he's hot.
Oh yeah, Tenmark looks great, and he's also pitching Liberty Mutual Insurance as well. Oh my gosh, Tenmark has multiple ads on his app. Tenmark, he's retiring next year from all the money that he's made on YouTube ads. So Tenmark is actually he's chronicling his adventures with the Amiga 2000 and with the NewTek Video Toaster, which I didn't realize was available for the 2000. I thought that the toaster was only for the 4000.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I never thought about it until you mentioned it just now. But it's funny because I owned a video toaster briefly. I never ever used it and did anything with it because I didn't know what that was doing. But as I recall, Neil's plan is to use his Amigas to do all of his video production at some point. So I'm not terribly surprised. He did. You
mean Doug, not Neil?
Or what did I say? Yeah, Doug. If you know what you're doing with this, it's still, it is what it is, and I mean, it still can do stuff. So I mean, I'll be interested to see what he does.
Yeah.
So I'll give the guy props, and he's got the patience and the know-how to get this stuff done. I can imagine me and you trying to do this.
Tenmark also has a new logo. If you remember, his former logo looked oddly reminiscent of something that I might have done in 5th grade on MS Paint.
Oh man, you're killing his logo.
Someone has gone back. And I wish I could give this person credit because this thing looks A+, super awesome, mega. I love it. It's the Tenmark. If you're just listening to the audio, you've got the Amiga ball with Tenmark on the inside, sitting on top of an Amiga 1000. Fantastic.
Yeah,
love it.
You're a big 1000 mark now.
I am a mark for the 1000.
We should put 2 zeros behind his name, and it can be you.
Ooh.
1000, the 1000 mark. You get it?
Fantastic jokery as always.
Oh yeah.
The UK Royal Mail, Aaron.
Yeah.
Has issued a series of stamps.
Yeah, this was I remember hearing about this last week. It was this was a big deal, and I think they're officially out now. I think I saw some people actually holding them.
Yes. This is a series of video game stamps, many of which, if not most, feature the Amiga versions of these games. This is, of course, being the UK Royal Mail, they want to highlight contributions to the video game scene from British developers. And they've got them all on here. You got your Micro Machines with the Codemasters. In fact, it's double Codemasters love because both Micro Machines and Dizzy are featured on here. You got Lemmings, Sensible Soccer, Worms, Elite, Populous, and unfortunately, we break the 16-bit trend because they also have Wipeout, and I believe that they have a whole different set of stamps in addition to this with the sort of like evolution of Tomb Raider.
Mm-hmm. Why do you hate Wipeout so much? That's an awesome game.
I don't hate it, but I don't like the fact, like it just seems, it doesn't fit in. When you look at these screenshots, you've got bunches of pixel art, and then when you throw in a game like Wipeout, which is so far advanced compared to these games, it doesn't feel like it fits in.
So here's the $10 million question, because I've been pondering this.
Okay.
Let's say they, for some reason, they call you up and they say, "Hello, boat. Which of these stamps need to go, and what would you put in?" Now they're Australian for some reason. Which one of these would you boot? I think I know. And what would your addition be? I know what mine would be.
Well, I definitely drop Micro Machines.
You would before Wipeout?
Well, okay. In terms of like, what's a fun game?
I thought you liked Micro Machines.
No.
Oh.
It's quite possibly the most overrated racing game on
Brent's
the Amiga.
Brent's gonna beat you for that. He loves that game.
It's horrible because you play the first level and you have a good time, then you play the second level, you can't beat it, and you throw it away.
Well, we're not very good.
I would probably drop. Now, of course, if I was going for 8 and 16-bit, if I was going for the classics, yeah, I'd drop Wipeout in a second, and I'd put in, I don't know, Advanced Ski Simulator or something. What would you put in?
Manic Miner.
A
gross oversight with this list.
In fact, I'd put in.
That's arguably one of the biggest games ever.
I'd put Manic Miner in place of Wipeout, and I'd put Chucky Egg in place of.
Chucky Egg would not be the worst choice.
Yeah, in place of Micro Machines.
Yeah, Manic Miner. Jet Set Willie, those games cannot be. It can't be.
You
overstated.
can't overstate the importance.
Yeah. Plus, they're. I like them.
Mm-hmm.
And I will agree with you. It is odd that Wipeout was included, and to a certain extent, Tomb Raider. But again, they got to sell stamps. And one thing about those two games is that they know younger people are going to be like, know what those are.
There is some connection with the current generation with Wipeout and Tomb Raider, which you're not going to get with any of the rest of these
frankly,
games.
I'm not a big. I would keep Micro Machines, and I'm not the biggest fan of Populous, as you know. So that would probably be one.
Yeah, but that's Peter Molyneux.
Yes, it is.
It's it's the first in a series of of landmark titles. Micro Machines really started and ended with Micro Machines. There's nothing that it was part of other than the fact that it was connected to an American little car set.
What you need to have? You need to have all the Shadow of the Beast in there. Walker.
Yep.
Right. You got to have him. Blood Money. Menace.
And then you throw in as a nod to the Germans living in Britain. Lionheart.
I wasn't going to mention Lionheart because of its non-British roots, but yes, I think Lionheart should be in there. That's just me. We should do one of these for every country.
We should.
Next week we'll do one for Germany, and we'll do one for like Sweden. That'd be fun. We'll go through them all.
Tons of Swedish Amiga games.
There are.
This is something that I wanted to show to you, Aaron, because I know that your CD ribbon for your CD32 is looking a little ragged.
No, it's not. It's the board that looks ragged.
This is a DIY replacement CD ribbon for the CD32. Okay.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I got to see this.
So you can actually do this yourself. You get yourself one of these cables, right? You kind of spin it around in your hands a couple times.
Yeah.
And then you just apply a couple pieces of cello tape. You take yourself one of these little screwdrivers that you find in your eyeglass repair kit.
Yeah.
And you delicately make small incisions upon it.
Yeah.
And then after you do that for a couple times, you just slide it back in the CD32. Boom, Bob's your uncle. You have a completely functional DIY CD ribbon for the CD32.
I will say that ribbon is no great shakes. We used to have a lot of ribbons like that when I worked for IBM for our GenRad testers, and they used to generate these things all the time. It's not that tough.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see, you want to hear my gimmick here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's the problem with these? See what he did right there. Hold it back up a minute here. Hold the phone.
Okay.
What's that? Now see, that's exactly what I was going to say. Look what he's got there. He's got an SD card. See, now what is going on here?
So he's not even using the CD drive at all.
He's got one of those CD32 like Terrible Fire things or whatever stuck in it.
Terrible Fire.
Or what did I say? That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's cool. Now that's what you need right there. If I knew that I could put one of those in mine, I would probably get one because they're inexpensive.
You wouldn't feel uncomfortable creating a DIY replacement CD ribbon for your CD.
I would rather have compact flash and never use. See, the problem with these CD units, and again, I look at the Dreamcast as the perfect example, and they've done the exact same thing. Here we go. The purist in me is like, oh, whine. But these CD-ROMs are going to die horribly. It's inevitable. Right, and all your discs are going to be crap. Inevitably, you need a digital replacement.
Right,
and that particular card is a good choice. In terms of that cabling, no, it's not that tough to do. You wouldn't have any trouble. If you were like, I remember when I had my Tron arcade machine, that thing had cables that were super wide and super ancient and just turned into dust. Those are much bigger and weirder. That'd be a little bit more difficult, but a little cable like that wouldn't be that big a deal.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
He did a good job.
Well, this comes to us from CRG, and this just popped up on my YouTube. I do random Amiga searches to see what's new and happening in the scene.
I'm going to check him out. And, I am going to look back into getting my CD32 upgraded. The more I think about it.
It's a shame that you use it as little as you do.
Well, it's not... It's funny. I wanted that thing so bad.
Yeah, I remember when you got it.
When I got the 1200, it for the most part it makes the CD32 pointless.
Don't tell Figgy that. Well, He'll kill you.
If you've got one or the other, you're set. Really, that's the thing. I'm not bad mouthing it. It's a great time to own
Less
one.
units sold worldwide than the Atari Jaguar.
Well, big deal. The Jag sold okay. It wasn't complete crap.
We do have a new episode of the Amiga Ireland podcast that has been released. I was thinking that I was going to pass this along to you guys before the show, just in case you wanted to do a news segment. But they cover all the latest news, including the A122 limited edition on sale. This is the we're going to talk a little bit about this more. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and open that link.
Because I don't even know what I didn't get to hear anything about hardware from this show.
Okay.
And I know Ravi mentioned it and even put pictures up, but he didn't explain what they were.
Well, we're gonna get that in just a second.
Good.
But
Beautiful.
there is a new episode of the Amiga Ireland podcast. If you want your Amiga news delivered to you in an Irish accent, in a gentle Irish accent, I would recommend you check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this next video, Aaron, comes to us from Reddit. Have you heard of Reddit before?
I've been there a couple times.
Okay.
For someone that doesn't like cussing, you're going to the wrong part of town.
I know. Now, it's funny because this is a video that I discovered. This is somebody who has created a CD32 arcade stick for his Amiga. Okay. Now, imagine my surprise when I walk into Amiga Ireland.
Yeah.
And I see this guy and I see this stick in action in person. So this guy did not do what people like me would do, which is to take an already existing box and create a stick around it. No, he cut this thing CNC machine. He had the CAD files and everything. He did everything, and then at the end of it, check this out. He totally adapts the mouse for the CD32.
That's a trackball.
Yeah, with the trackball, and then he puts the Amiga stickers on it. Bam.
Nice.
Okay.
Now, without seeing what he did to interface this, I'm going to take a guess. There are several ways he could have done it. First of all, the Amiga CD32 does support enough buttons to make this work. I don't know how many games actually support all these buttons. I'm sure there are some. If he has the interface card in there that gives you a mouse port and a keyboard port. You know, where of course it already has the way to hit the. So I'm guessing some of these buttons. Does he say what he used for an interface? Did you see the inside of it when you were there?
You know, I didn't peek on the inside.
It's a pretty looking board. I mean, he did a great job. This is woodworking, not my bag.
Yeah, you can see that he's got the interface boards here wired up, but I don't know what those are exactly. So these might even be custom jobs. You never know.
I doubt it. There's no reason to do a custom job. I'll have to look into this. Yeah, I actually thought about doing this when I first got the CD32, something like this, put it in an arcade machine, but the CD32 wasn't what I would call the prime candidate for that at the time. Yeah. But hey, it looks great, and plus he was a man on a mission.
Right.
He was going like that, and I love that. You know, I think it looks great.
Yeah. His name is Glenn. I had a chance to speak with him briefly at Amiga Ireland, and definitely check out his video. The name of his channel is this is CRG. Did we talk about it? Was CRG? That was the other channel that we did too. So this guy's been.
Is this guy Irish or is he where's he out of?
I believe that he is British.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I've been wrong about accents before.
Man, this guy's tearing it up then.
Yeah.
You'll definitely have to add that to the list.
Absolutely. All right. And our final story of this week is at Amiga Ireland.
Big soap.
Yeah, big soap. Our boy Tinmark did an interview live with Trevor Dickinson from the main stage at Amiga Ireland. So if I can sort of set the stage with this, Trevor was actually sitting at the exact same place that I was for a lot of the time at Amiga Ireland, right in front of the main screen.
Yeah.
And Doug actually interviewed him on the live from the show floor, as it were, him sitting back in his home. And he was answering questions about the new Amigas that Trevor has been putting out, including the A122. The A122 is sort of the budget version of the X1000 and the X5000 line, which has recently come out. And this is sort of the low-cost new Amiga. I believe that this is going to sell for around $500.
That is low.
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering what low cost really meant.
Yeah, and so Trevor answers all kinds of questions. This commanded the attention of a lot of people on the show floor. I didn't get to see this because there was actually a workshop scheduled against it. I believe that I was in there with Pixel Vixen during her workshop while this was going on, but I sort of heard it, peripherally. And they had some audio problems at the beginning, but skip ahead about 10 or 20 minutes, and they jump right into it, and it's a very good interview.
It runs for a while, almost an hour. I wish you'd gotten that much time.
Oh, it would have been great
with Dave.
We'll talk about that on the Amiga Ireland
I
show.
watched some of this, but I was having some real trouble hearing what was going on with this one. And really, beginning of your interview, there were some sound issues as well. It got better. But that seemed like they had a lot of sound issues at the event, on and off. So you know better than me. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, good stuff. Trevor ended up being up there twice, right? Didn't he come back?
Oh yeah,
in the main event.
Yeah, Trevor and Dave Pleasant sort of were a constant presence during the event. Going up and down on stage, talking about various endeavors that they're working on. So always glad to see them over in Athlone. And make sure you check out 10-Minute Amiga Retrocast for this interview and all the other awesome content that Doug puts out.
Does Doug have a new haircut, or is it just the headphones?
He almost looks like he's going for a Clint look.
Is that what?
That's what I think.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. I mean, we all have YouTube stars that we emulate. I emulate Boris Karloff, and he emulates Clint.
I'm going for Kojak.
Yeah.
Who loves you, baby?
I don't know who Kojak really is.
I knew it. Just move on.
He's like Columbo, right?
No, he's nothing like Columbo. Columbo was a great but geeky little, like, nothing happening, unkept loser looking guy. Kojak was dressed to the nines, shaved bald with a lollipop. He was a detective.
I get Kojak mixed up with who's the guy that throws the fireballs?
That's it, Prado. I have no idea what you're talking about.
He's a guy that throws fireballs and he's Russian.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Karlov? This is an arcade game. Karnov.
Karnov doesn't look anything like Kojak. He's got a big old mustache.
Really?
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I thought one was based off the other.
By the way.
Oh, yeah. But they don't have any connection in real life.
No, absolutely not. I believe Telly Savalas was he Sicilian, perhaps? Something like that?
Where was Karnov from?
Russia. Yeah, Russian, I think.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for this week's Amiga News, Aaron. I think it's about time that we dive right into this week's main event, Hook.
I give you the hook after that last comment. What an idiot. So, let's talk about this wacky game, Hook. Now, before we even get into the game, have you seen the film this is based on? We talked about Peter Pan earlier. This is sort of a wacky, secondary tale to Peter Pan. Have you seen this film?
I've seen this film. I've seen it all the way through.
Now, I have not, but I know the plot when I had to read up on it and watch some trailers. But just for people at home, why don't you give them the short version?
Okay, so this is sort of a retelling of the latter days of Peter Pan. So Peter Pan has grown up and become a very successful businessman with a family.
And how'd that happen? Since he was a boy that would never age.
Well, he came back to visit Wendy, and on the last time he just stayed.
Okay.
He just stayed, and he grows up and he's in his mid-30s and he's got a family. He no longer remembers anything about being Peter Pan. For reasons that I don't believe are ever entirely explained, Captain Hook magically transports to London and captures Peter's kids.
Yeah.
So then Tinkerbell captures Peter Pan and brings him back to Never Never Land, carrying him on a blanket.
I believe she's hotly played by Julia Roberts.
She is hotly played.
There's a sort of a tradition that Tinkerbell is this slinky, leggy, hot fairy.
That's a tradition I like to keep.
Well, man, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying there it is.
Yeah. Disney started that, by the way.
Good move.
So anyway, Peter Pan he's known as Peter Banning in his adult form. He comes back and he has to sort of relearn all the things that Peter Pan does. And of course, at first, he's very against this. He just wants to get his kids back. But slowly, this is sort of a thing where he becomes reacquainted with the Lost Boys, some of whom have grown old in Neverland at this point, which is a little bit weird. And there's a new Peter Pan guy whose name is Rufio, who's sort of like a pseudo Pan, and there's some tension between him and Robin Williams, by the way, who is, this is an all-star cast. Julia Roberts is Tinkerbell, Robin Williams is Peter Pan, Shelley Duvall is Hook.
What?
And there's
Shelley Duvall is not Hook.
Who's Hook?
It's Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman, right?
Wow.
Okay.
That would have made the movie. For once, they have a man play Peter Pan and a woman play Hook.
That's what I meant. He was the guy in The Graduate. Wasn't Shelley Duvall the woman in The Graduate?
She was the woman in The Shining, which you haven't seen. She also played Olive Oyl. Yeah.
So anyway, it's a great
Bob
cast.
Hoskins is in there as well.
Really?
Yeah. I think he plays a police officer or something. I don't know.
But anyway, Peter Pan slowly remembers how to be Peter Pan. He relearns how to fly. He relearns how to crow. He relearns how to talk trash with like 7th grade bathroom language. And then at the end, he defeats Hook. And Hook is eaten by the crocodile. That is a stuffed crocodile in the center of town.
Yeah, how does that happen?
It's a weird thing that is never fully explained.
Okay. That's weird. So there you go. And I looked into this just to see how the movie did well. Because I remember when this movie came out, I thought to myself, this looks like a dud.
Really?
Yeah.
Because okay, first of all, I was very young and you were very old.
I wasn't very old. It came out in 91.
Yeah, so how old were you?
I was only 2 years out of high school.
Okay, so you're 21 years old. I think that's kind of out of the age range that Hook was looking
20
for.
years old.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was 10 years old, which was right in their wheelhouse. And here's the thing. I love
This is a PG film.
I love stories that sort of tell a story that's already familiar in a different way. I think that's really cool. And the fact that you knew the plot coming out of it. I mean, nobody thought, oh, who's this guy? Everybody knew it was Peter Pan from the get-go. But it was like, I thought this was a really sweet movie. I thought that the fact that, Peter Pan relearns how to be Peter Pan. And it was delightful. It was a Spielberg-directed film. He doesn't do any crap.
Oh, yeah, he does.
What? No.
I read interviews about this where he said he was uneasy about the script. He didn't think the middle held up very well. He thought this was one of his more disappointing films.
Really?
And the box office also showed.
I'm not surprised this was not a box office.
This had a $70 million budget. This is 91, mind you. Now, it returned $300 million.
Okay, so this was a box office hit.
Well, can I finish? It returned $300 million worldwide, but after costs, all the other crap that went down, they said it almost broke even.
Out of 300 million? Where did all that other money go?
Hey, listen, I'm not a studio guy. I'm just telling you what the wiki said.
I don't believe that. Wiki lies.
No, not in this case. And also, like I said, Spielberg said he's not happy with it. So there you go. He wasn't a big fan of his own movie. Now, again, I haven't seen the whole thing. I watched about the first 15 minutes. I was like,
now, I've seen this movie once.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, again, just like The Simpsons, how much you retain after seeing a movie once. And I think that we've become, do you think, this is beyond the realm of the show.
Yeah. What's new?
This is something that I ponder as I lay awake at night.
Okay.
Do you think the fact that we're able to have infinite rewatchability with everything that we watch now, we have told our brains not to remember as much than when we were kids and we would watch a movie and we would know that we would never see this movie again?
Here's the answer. I'm holding up my cell phone. People, and it's not just the cell phone, people don't pay attention to anything. They don't pay attention when they drive. They don't pay attention when they talk to one another. They don't pay attention to what they eat. They don't pay attention to what they watch or hear. They just don't, including me. Now, I also just have faculties that are failing, so that doesn't help. People, nothing I hate more than I'm watching a show and somebody I want them to see it or they wanted me to see it, and then they don't watch it. They're pulling out their phone. It's like, what are we doing this for? You know, people don't pay attention. So I think you're 100% correct, frankly. I think people paid closer attention. I mean, 91 was late in the game. When the original few Star Wars came out, like, there was no way to watch this at home for years. Right. And even after the VCR had became pretty much prominent in your house, you couldn't get a copy. It was like $70, $80. For the longest time, they weren't released. I mean, and that was not that unusual. So, yeah, it's a different world now where you have instant. Plus, there was less to watch, to be honest with you. So there was also that aspect. So I do agree. I think you have a point there with that. And this one stuck with you. And as a kid, hey, you know, we all have our guilty pleasures. I don't tell you, I'm not gonna sit here and kill the movie. I haven't seen it all, but it didn't do anything for me when I watched it 20 years ago.
Sure.
You know, I was an idiot. So anyway, let's flash forward to the game. Now that we know how the movie did. Someone just said, "I'm driving now." There you go. You're part of the problem, Retro Jerry. So anyway, this came out in '92. So this was out a year after the film.
So you were 21 when this movie came out. Yeah.
When this game came out.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
This came on 4 big discs, which that seems about. I mean, there's a pretty expansive intro.
Yeah.
Of course, this is your graphic adventure type deal. So there's only one player. This was released this was published by Ocean, of course. And they don't have a developer listed, but I do know who worked on this. So the coder was a guy named Bobby Earl. Now listen, we've got to try at least one of these games. He was responsible for a game called Flip It and Magnos.
Oh.
Water Carriers from Mars. And
these
Total Recall.
Oh, okay, well, we skipped that one. But the first two, yes.
All these guys
I'm all in.
So the graphics were done by Don Drake, responsible for Batman and Wizard Wars. W-A-R-Z. So there's another one. Jack Wickerly, who did Elf, Gold of the Aztecs, and Jurassic Park. You see, they've all done some movie game. Kevin Oxlund, who did Anarchy, Orc, and Spellbound. And the music was done, and the music in this I'd say is probably the high point of the game for me. It was done by Dean Evans. Dean Evans was responsible for a ton of movie game game soundtracks. Jurassic Park, Lethal Weapon. He did One Step Beyond. Remember that? He did T2 as well. Also worked on this was a guy named Keith Tinman. He did, listen to this lineup, Batman, Hudson Hawk. He did RoboCop, The Untouchables.
All the movie license games.
Well, Ocean. You got to think the licensing king. They were like, here, do this, do that. This had an Atari ST release and a DOS release. I did read somewhere, I think I wrote it down. Yeah, here it is. This was one of the first smooth-scrolling adventure games on the PC. It used a 256-color tweaked VGA mode. And all the in-game art came from the Amiga version. So they basically up the art colors with from the 32 to 256.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. So
they VGAized it.
Yeah, I'm assuming from everything I could tell, the Amiga was the source of all the other versions.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense.
And this has the D-Paint look. You could tell. I mean, it's great. It looks great. So this game picks up with an elaborate opening sequence with exactly as you described. It shows Robin coming home. It shows the Tinkerbell showing up, telling him his kids have been kidnapped. He has to, the blanket takes him to the whole 9 yards. It's real nice, isn't it? What did you think of the opening?
The opening, I mean...
And the music, too.
This game in general does a great job, probably, arguably, inarguably. This does a better job of portraying the plot of the movie than I think any game I've ever played on any system ever.
Well, I mean, they did a good job. Considering I didn't see the movie, and from watching the opening, I knew what I was supposed to do and where I was at. Yeah. So I'll give the game credit. And again, the opening score, it really kicks off with a nice orchestral sort of thing. It's real. They did a great job. I'm assuming this music's from the movie that they just kind of made in.
I don't know. I'm not as familiar with the soundtrack, the original soundtrack of Hook, but the music in this game is amazing.
So let's talk about the game. So again, you play Peter, sort of Peter Pan, who is going around. Now, once you get to this land, you're sort of on your own. I had no idea what I was doing, as usual. So I spent a couple of hours lumbering around this pirate village. Of course, the obvious comparisons are going to be your Monkey Islands. I mean, there is no getting away.
Right.
I will say the graphics, I would say, aren't as good as Monkey Island. The comedy, I mean, I don't think this compares favorably to Monkey Island, but it's not crap.
Well,
you're comparing it against one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I sat here and I watched the full playthrough of this game, and this is not really a funny game. It's not like Monkey Island. It's not a humorous game. What this game is trying to do is it's trying to portray the movie in video game form, because this movie is not like a ha-ha funny movie.
Right. But I mean, they put a lot of humor in it.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I thought there was.
Give me an example of humor in this
when
game.
I say humor, I mean it's just like the way people talked and the scenes. They're not. It's not like made to be realistic. You know what I'm saying? It's not as funny. It's not made to be comedy like Monkey Island. It's somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
The interface is interesting. The interface takes up probably a third of the screen.
This is both the strength and the weakness of this game.
Okay, I want to hear this. I want to hear your thought on this.
Okay, so this is they've chosen a different tack.
Right.
Then obviously this is not a scum engine game.
No.
You've got Spyglass, Bad Breath, Drop It Down, Sack Bag, Into My Hand, Out of Your Hand. Okay? That's what I call them. Okay?
So you have dumb nicknames for what they do.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay? Spyglass is search.
Yep.
Bad Breath is talk.
Yep.
Out of My Hand is give. Sack Bag, inventory. Into my hands, out of my hands means you give it to somebody else.
Well, sack bag sort of means like use item, basically. Now, underneath that, you've got a list of all the stuff you carry.
Right.
As far as I know, was there a limit to what you could carry? Because I kept picking crap up.
Bag of holding.
Yeah. Now, but the funny thing about this is there are two pictures on either side of the screen.
Yes.
One is Captain Hook, and one is Robin Williams. It looks more like Harry Potter if he was thrust in the Chaos Engine. He's got the goggles.
It's very good. It's a very apt comparison.
And what's funny is when you do something good, like Hook's face gets mad.
Yeah.
He goes, "Brr!"
I love that. I love that part. It's very pro wrestling.
That's when you know. Yeah, it'd be cool if you got a little promo on it. But so you've done something right if he gets angry.
Right.
Because most of the time he just sits down there completely immoving. None of the guys move. What do you do in this game? Well, good question. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I had a lot of luck. I did watch, after I gave up, I did watch someone more competent stagger through, but they had trouble too because I didn't want to see the complete solution, so I just watched somebody try to play it. You basically walk around this town. It's your classic game of this type. Pick this up, take this there, try to figure out what stuff does. Hunt around the screen for picking stuff up. You can pick up a ton of stuff. You're picking up, and you go to bars, you go to docks, you go to ships, you go to alleys, stores, stuff like that. The first thing I noticed is that you need money. And one of the first hints I got was to take this guy and go sell your gold teeth to this guy and get some instant cash. And I also got to a bit where I don't know how far you got in. Did you get to the point where you can get the grappling hook and swing across the street?
So this was probably the main problem that I had with this game.
Yeah.
Is that when you try and do something and the guy says, I can't do that, then you think, okay, I can't do that. But this is not the case in this game. In this game, you're like, I can't do that. And then you have to do it again. He's like, I really don't want to do that. And then the third time you ask him to swing, then he swings.
Yeah. And the only reason
that would have frustrated me to death.
The only reason I knew about that is because I read it. I read the. In fact, I've got it right here. Actually, you can see I printed it out. See the thing right here? It's this game's actually. If you play right through it, it's not very long.
35 minutes.
But if you're a dumb guy, you could trust me on this, you could spend days. It's just like any of these other games that I play. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say the puzzles were more or less clever or anything.
I will say that the GUI gets in your way because it does not highlight items that you can pick up. And a lot of the Scum Engine games, when you hover over an item, it'll either light up or it'll show up. It'll like the text will change or something.
Yeah.
In this game, you're totally on your own, and that makes things difficult.
That was one part. There's a part where you have to pick this, like basically the thing you use for a grappling hook is like a little anchor, and to get that, you could barely see it.
Right.
I didn't see it, and I had to look at the little dock to tell me how to do it. Something else you're going to notice is that Tinkerbell, it hovers around you at all times. It reminded me of the Wii. If you ever played the Legend of Zelda game on the Wii, where the little fairy's always near you, because you know that. But it's I guess what I'm saying is it's annoying.
Right.
I didn't necessarily need Tinkerbell. I mean, listen, if you're a magical fairy, you're gonna hang around with me. Do something.
Listen,
you know?
It's like when Terry Funk fought Jim Cornette in the empty arena. Sometimes it's for
Jerry
pride.
Lawler. Well, no, it's nothing like that. Sometimes it's annoying, but I guess maybe that happened in the movie. Do you remember if Tinkerbell hung around with him the whole time?
It's always hanging around.
Okay, there you go. I wish you could move with the arrow keys as opposed to just having to push where you want to go, because this game would work perfectly well if you could move with the arrow keys. You know, that way you could have the mouse. But you don't have to do it. But I kind of like to move with the arrow keys. That's just the way I am. But there you go. Same thing with Diablo. It's my other problem I have with that game. I don't like to use the mouse to move around, but I don't have to. The sound is good. The graphics are pretty good. I mean, they're not the best I've ever seen, but they look pretty good. I think they do a pretty good job. They convey what's going on pretty well. But again, I watched the whole game through after I played it for about 2.5, 3 hours. Right? So I felt like I could give it a good try. I will say, you know me, I like the less is more approach to a UI. And I appreciated the fact that there wasn't a whole lot you had to keep track of. I don't like keeping track of inventory on these things, and I also don't like having a bunch of crazy commands. This gives you a limited amount of commands. It took me a while to figure out exactly how to, like at one point you have to put rope on the grappling hook. I didn't exactly know how to do that. And then I didn't exactly know how to throw the grappling hook. I didn't know exactly how to give someone stuff. It's just like anything else, you have to sort of learn. But I picked it up, pretty easily. It wasn't that tough. In terms of how fun was it, you know, this is not necessarily my bag, as you know, so I didn't have any more or less fun with it I had in most of these other games. I thought it was okay. I'm not real keen on having the huge portraits on it. I think they wasted some screen space, because you could have easily had that inventory collapsible and then taken up about a third less, you have at least another extra 1/6 of screen.
Right.
But I mean, it's not a deal breaker. It's not the worst. You know, I didn't think the puzzles that I figured out on my own were super tough. I mean, what was your assessment? You're more into these games a lot more than I am.
The first thing that you do in this game is you go visit this doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's got this dripping bone saw with blood on it.
Yes.
Let me tell you, this was not from the movie Hook.
He wasn't in there?
There was no wacky doctor with a bone saw in it. I thought that the puzzles were fair. I had less problem with the puzzles than I did just like figuring out, because you're clicking on everything, because you don't have any sort of highlight ability here. You're clicking on everything, trying to pick up everything.
Yep, you do pick up everything.
Yeah, but I think that on the scale of adventure game puzzles, especially from '92, because we're getting sort of late in the game with these, I think that things were fair. My biggest problem with this game is that the graphics are very sort of, uneven. Some things are just represented beautifully, and some things, like your dude, Robin Williams, he has one of the dorkiest walks I've seen.
I was hoping I'm glad you mentioned that. Watching him walk around.
Yeah.
You're like, you ever seen that game? It's for the consoles. I think it's called Eric the Uneasy or something like that. He's like, it's about a dork that's on an adventure, and he looks like he's so abrasively annoying to look at that you're just like, oh, I just want this guy to die.
Right.
This guy isn't that bad, but he's heading that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he does walk like a complete doofus.
Yeah, I don't have as much of a problem as you do with the portraits at the bottom of the screen, because I think that anytime you have an adventure game, you're always going to only have like the top third of the screen visible, and everything else is going to be, on the bottom of the screen. And I like the fact that whenever you do something good, Hook gets mad. I mean, it's a cute touch.
It's a gimmick, as far as I'm concerned.
It is a gimmick, but gimmicks are what you need to set yourself apart from the others on this game and these kinds of games. This game is presented more like a LucasArts game than a Sierra game, in the fact that you cannot die in this game. You can't really ever mess yourself up to the point where you can't go on, you have to restore. I like that a lot. The biggest fault that I think this game has is that it intersperses the background music way too much. Like when you are walking around the docks in the opening pirate town, you get nothing but just like the sounds of the sea, 98.1, but whenever you go into whenever you meet the Lost Boys, there are these themes that come in, these musical themes that are just beautiful. And I didn't see these until I started watching the Let's Play, and I was flabbergasted. This is some of the most effective music I've ever seen in an Amiga game. When you are Peter and you are remembering how to fly, and you remember your happy memory, there is this swelling that happens.
That is a great scene.
And it's so affecting. And I don't know that I've ever seen an Amiga game that does it so well. And it's such a shame, because there are so few people that probably saw it because they got frustrated earlier in the game or whatever. But I just wish that they would have just shared the love. Give me a jaunty pirate tune in the pirate town. Don't give me just the ocean waves and things like that. This is, I'm not going to lie to you, this is probably my favorite music in any game that we've done. This is episode 234. This takes all of the things that I watch, and we'll talk about this in the Amiga Ireland bonus episode, but we watched a guy do a seminar on Pro Tracker, and this was like the opposite of all of that awful Euro dance trash.
Here we go.
This was so symphonic and so emotional and so beautiful, and I wanted it to go on, and it does. But the problem is that you just don't get any of that in the early game.
Well, the music in this, it reminds me of some of the Lucas. It comes in at pivotal points. Like there's music before that Lost Boys part. There's other. It comes in kind of like when you first meet Hook, you get a little.
You get a bam bam bam.
Well, I'm just saying it's good. It's good though. I will say there's a again, not seeing the film. There's a moment when I was watching this that when Peter actually finds out who he is, and there's like a flashback scene. And the music comes in, and then he starts to rise up in the air. It was very stirring.
And here's the thing: you don't have to watch the film, because this gives you every single plot point. I mean, it's fantastic. This is the best adaptation of a video game or of a movie I've ever seen in a video game in terms of conveying the plot. This does it better than any other one.
Well, I haven't seen. We haven't played a ton of movie games.
We played a ton of movie games.
Well, but there's plenty more out there. I guess what I'm saying.
Do you think Hudson Hawk is going to give you a better glimpse into Bruce Willis's mind?
I haven't seen that either, to be honest with you, so I'll have to put it on the list. But I think this is okay. I'll tell you this. I think this is a game that people would see those scenes, and I think people could get there. Mm-hmm. I think if I had the gumption, and this was my bag, I could have probably gotten at least to the island. It wasn't that tough. I was about halfway there when I gave up. But I do like the music. I liked when it came in. I think part of the reason that it had such a good effect is that they did use it sparingly. But I mean, having something kicking around wouldn't be the worst idea. But it's okay. Like I said, I'm not going to give this game some kind of ringing endorsement, but I think for a movie adaptation, it's better than most, because they actually sort of kind of cared and sort of kind of put something together that was sort of kind of fun. Mm-hmm. And it also glorified the film as opposed to making some kind of like run around jump game. Yeah. And I know the console versions of this are totally different. Totally different
and totally awful.
Have you played those? I
think I rented Hook from the old Video Madness, which I think was over at where Dunlap's Gun and Pawn is now.
Yeah. And you didn't like them? Do you recall anything about them?
Horrible.
Yeah. A couple of little amusing things that I dug up on this just from a couple of different websites. The Amiga version of this game...
Movie Town. That's what it was, not Video Madness. Video Madness was in Winfield.
The Amiga version of this game had a copy protection on it, and they say it was a variant of the Rob Northern copy lock routine. Now get this. So if this thing failed a second protection check, it would cause an item that's important to the game, it says here a mug, to disappear.
Really?
And so you couldn't actually go any further without that mug in the game. So it's one of those jerk protection.
Yeah.
So that's always good. That's always good for a laugh. And it made this game initially difficult to crack. But people, they thought they'd cracked it, but then they looked like jerks. And that did happen occasionally. I ran into some games that I had copies of that they would have handicapped in some way, and you were pretty much screwed. Something else I thought was interesting on this was that the German version didn't translate properly. And so none of the special German characters got translated, like the A with the 2 dots, the O with the 2 dots.
The old umlaut.
So any of the dialogue that had those characters in it got screwed up. So I guess if you have the German version of this, you're SOL. So that was kind of neat. So one other thing I found is as a wacky cheat, if you go to the bait and tackle shop, there's a mug. There's mugs everywhere in this game, but there's a mug next to a candle. If you keep going, I wish I'd known this when I was playing. If you keep repeating the pickup on that space, you get every item that you need to beat the game.
Really? Wow.
According to this cheat. So someone should give that one a shot. I thought that was pretty amusing. I looked this up, see how it did review-wise, Boatster. Something else I was going to mention. This came out on the C64, but not as this. The C64 got the platformer version. Kind of weird.
The bad version.
You think the C64 could have pulled off some sort of graphical adventure game like that?
It would have. It could have, but I think it would have been hard to port. You would have to rewrite it from the beginning.
So anyway, Lemon, the people over at Lemon give this a respectable 7.32. Amiga Action gave this a 72. Amiga Format a 48%. They dropped the hammer. Amiga Magazine gave this a 7 out of 10. Amiga Mania, brother, gave this 78%. Amiga Power, 84%. AUI gave it 87. CU Amiga gave it a 64. And the One gave it an 84. Those are sort of all over the map between sort of the B, C level down into the F zone. So that's weird, I'm sure some of these docked it severely on the time it took to finish it, because if you're a hardcore
Hook fan,
if you're a hardcore graphic adventure person, real super good at them, you could smoke this game pretty quick probably. And so when you get a game like this and on 4 discs and you finish it in under an hour, not good.
Well, okay,
but that's
I want to push back a little bit because Monkey Island, if you look at the Let's Plays of Monkey Island that
they're long.
I've done, they're like 2.5 hours long. However, Monkey Island 2, how many discs?
I don't know. It was hundreds.
11. 11 discs.
Yeah.
So if you think about 11 discs is 2.5 hours, 4 discs at 35 minutes, that's fair.
I was wondering what this got released at price-wise. And I didn't find the price readily. But I'm wondering if this sold for, when you've got a movie game, again, having not seen the film, this seems to tell a complete story. But you can make these games as long or as short as you want. So I'm not gonna kill it for that. And also, again, if you watch these playthroughs, if you're just a schlep like me, I sat around for 2.5 hours laboring to get probably a third of the way through. So, but if you're a real good hand, you could probably get through it pretty quick. I looked this up on eBay, Boat.
Before you go on to eBay, we got a couple of user reviews here.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Whoa.
Chris Full says, Hook review. At first, I hated it, as I hate the film. Then I put in a few more hours in. It's a mild cheddar of the point-and-click world. Sure, it's a cheese, but it's bland, boring, and there's so much better cheese available, so why spend your time playing this? 6 out of 10. Paul, a.k.a. Hermsky, writes, point-and-click adventure, comical pirates, is this deja vu? This game is not a patch on its LucasArts competitors. However, point-and-click adventures are a guilty pleasure of mine, and I do still have an affection for this game. The puzzles and dialogues are quirky and entertaining. The game itself is addictive and hard to put down. On the downside, the commands are limited, and having Tinkerbell buzzing around your head all the time can get very annoying.
I'm with Hermsky on that 7 out of 10, and also I'm with Hermsky on Tinkerbell. Annoying. didn't do it for me. That's one thing I would have gotten.
But listen. Here's what I got out of it.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got Hook.
Yep.
Okay. You got the movie. Okay.
The hook brings you back.
It does.
As it were.
It does. With the
remember that song?
The extremely long harmonica solo.
Yeah. Great. Song.
So the I really thought that, like, okay, for example, okay, you got Rufio. Remember that classic scene where he grabs the hook from Dustin Hoffman?
Yeah.
And he says the immortal words, "Looky, looky, I've got hooky."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to say that every day when I was growing up.
Those are immortal words.
I would play hook with my brother.
Real.
Okay. And like he would pretend like he had a hook, and I would take his finger and twist it off.
Yeah.
And then I would say, "Looky, looky, I've got hooky."
Did you really do this?
And then I would crow, because Peter Pan knows how to crow. Do you know how to crow?
I don't.
Very
good.
Yeah.
This isn't real. You didn't actually play this game at your house.
No, I never played this game.
Okay, thank God.
But
I'm talking about the actual pretending to be hooked.
Yeah. You
had a childhood that was beautiful and innocent.
It was. And when I watched, did you ever watch the movie Finding Neverland? Do you remember this?
No, I never watched that.
Okay, this was an extremely like sappy retelling of like the J.M. Barrie's growing up in rural England in the early part of it. You know, it's great to be an Englishman in 1910.
Yeah.
King Edward's on the throne. It's the age of men.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, him growing up in like, there was like this mean old lady that like grabbed a clothes hanger and had a hook on it, and he was like, "Oh, Hook, Captain Hook."
That's where they got the idea?
So, yeah, that's where they got the idea.
Who knew?
Yeah, and then at the end, everybody
What
dies.
if she grabbed a clothespin? Then what would have happened? Then you got problems.
You don't want to know.
Before we move on, eBay. Believe it or not, this game goes for some bucks. Now, it's all over the map. I'll admit that. In the U.S., if you want to get one, $200 US bills. Wow. Or best offer.
It's one of those, huh?
Yeah. Then you've got, in the UK, of course, you've got everything from $17 sold to people were selling these for $50, $60, $70, $90. It was all over the map.
This is an expensive game, is what you're saying.
Well, it could be, or it could not be, to be completely honest with you. It depends on your ability to buy it at the right time. You know? So there you go. Video time, Boat?
Video time. I don't know what that means.
Our videos time.
Oh, okay. So we did have a lot going on the old YouTube channel this week. Probably the thing we should mention first is the arcade tour. You want to talk about that?
That's the first thing we're going to mention?
That's the only thing that was important that happened.
We've released Spin 10 of the Thanks for Giving Marathon all the way back on Thanksgiving, Day of Thanksgiving. And in this one, we actually shot just a little tour of the arcade. It had to be a little tour. It's a little arcade, and we stuck that in there as well. So we also look at games from Micropro, specifically one game at 15 Strike Eagle, 2 different versions of it. So,
but the best thing is that you give a tour of the arcade.
That's right. It's a very small. We get into a lot of stories and stuff, but yeah, our arcade's not very big. But yeah, we look over some stuff. So we had a good time filming it. You know, we thought it'd be fun to put in there.
Yeah.
Are you mocking our arcade tour? I can't tell.
Listen. All right. Next up, we've got one of the first reports from Amiga Ireland.
Wow, Ireland's looking rough.
This was my buddy. His name is Clearkos.
Wow. Say that again?
Clearkos.
Man, that's okay. Yeah, I like it.
He's from Greece.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and he's pretty much universally regarded as the world's most lightwave 3D master.
Believe it or not, I watched this.
I mean, Clearkos travels around the globe, and he derives his income solely from doing lightwave 3D presentations at various Amiga events.
You've got to be joking. This is how he earned. That's got to be
This is how he earns his money.
You're kidding me. How many Amiga events would you have to speak at?
And so what he does is he takes his logo, which is Mwabdib.
Yeah.
Okay. And Mwabdib, he takes that and then he morphs it into various things, and then he shines light on it, because that's the thing. One of the things that I learned by attending this this seminar is that the rendering time is not so much the 3D, It's when you start adding the lighting effects,
Okay.
the render time rally. And the first thing he says is, if you're trying to do this on any kind of regular Amiga, you're out of luck. Just get a PC and fire up an emulator and you're good to go. Okay.
I don't remember that part of him saying that.
He basically buries Amiga hardware right away.
So he clearly he doesn't want to continue to earn a career in the Amiga convention circuit.
I think he might be shilling for vampires. I'm not sure.
You know, when we watched this, a room full of us, I got to watch some of it, and basically the conversation was something along the lines of what? How the heck? What? Up? Too hard for? Whoa! What the?
Yeah.
And then we all just gave up and just sat there with our drooling on the monitor.
So anyway, Mwabdib does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
You know, going through, putting people through their paces on the old Lightwave 3D.
He's got the skills on that. Yeah, it's kind of neat to see that. I've heard of Lightwave. I know sort of what it does, but to see a dude actually use it was kind of cool.
You want to talk about last week's Our Sinclair, a ZX Spectrum podcast?
Man, we went at it, buddy. So, you know, we've covered, it seems like I've covered Rainbow Islands 100 times. It always comes up. It's always connected to other games. It just keeps coming up. I will have to
like
tell
a bad
you,
penny.
Did you get to try the Specky version?
I have not played the Specky version of
it. Was solid gold money, brother, in terms of being like Rainbow
It looks very
Islands.
good. It looks like you're in Toyland right now.
Well, the funny thing about it is, of course, you've got the color clash issue and the fact that the rainbows are monochrome. It's kind of amusing, but it plays well. Does that mean we're good at it? No. And I will say it was refreshing to be on the show with someone who also doesn't like it, because neither one of us were big fans of Rainbow Islands. But it plays well. I can't badmouth it. And it's very much like the arcade. I loaded up the arcade version and played it to compare them, you know. And hey, it's good. Control was good. It's just like a lot of Spectrum games. Control was good. Looks sharp. You know, you just have to deal with the color issue. I had a habit of losing stuff in the color clash, but I have that a lot, you know. But it was a good solid game.
Here's what I liked about this episode. First of all, Brent and Natai.
Yeah.
First time I've ever seen Brent and Natai except as a wedding.
Yeah.
And you
that was
guys,
my tie, by the way.
You guys with your really affecting version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow at the end.
Yeah. Well, I was depressed.
I'm not an emotional man.
Yeah.
But I teared up a little bit.
Yeah, we're thinking about working the convention circuit with that gig.
Yeah, you and Clear Cost could go out.
If Cliblob could do it, I figured me and him have a shot, and we wouldn't even badmouth the stock Amiga. You know, no, we had a good time. We had a fun time. I had to do a lot of work to convert all the graphics and stuff over to my system, but we had a good time doing it. So, but yeah, I recommend it. I mean, if you're into Rainbow Islands, this is your baby right here.
Yeah, yeah. We also have an interview that I did over on the main stage.
What was her name?
Hey, she was not a president of Amiga Ireland, oddly enough.
Go on, Ricky, chime in.
We did. I got a chance to briefly sit down with the one and only Dave Haney. And this thing was beset from the beginning with audio trouble. It was reminding me very resplendent of the Amigos show. But we did get a chance to sit down and have a chat for around 36 minutes. We talked about Dave's early days with the Exidy Sorcerer.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And he also mentioned the chipset from the Commodore 16. So we just discussed an ARG.
Right.
And I actually knew what was going on. I was so proud of myself.
I thought about throwing in a plug for ARG in there, but yes. I somehow caught off the impulse.
What happened here, of course, your audio, but the problem with this interview is just I mean, I bet there's a lot of stuff he doesn't talk about that often because you went way back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this is great. And when he started really getting the Amiga stuff, it was over.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Well, I had, whenever I interview anybody, in my mind, I have the whole structure in my head.
Yeah.
And so it's a slow burn up to the climax. And I was still way, way back. I was 25% of the way where I wanted to be.
Did you know that you were under the gun for time like that?
No, I had no idea.
How did you know? Because, I mean, you abruptly ended it like that.
Erla came into my field of view and went,
oh, man.
And so that was
We're going to get into that more during the special.
Yeah, we'll talk about that during the Amiga Ireland report.
I also mentioned, me and Brent talked about it, that Dave, if I had a head of hair, like a full head of hair, I would be him now.
That's how you do it.
I would have that mustache. He looks what I would look like if I had hair. So I'm proud of him. I love that.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get with that guy one of these days.
Oh, I sent him a message on Facebook. I think he needs some cool down time.
Yeah.
He had a much rougher trip than I did. He left Athlone at 2 a.m. to catch a 4 a.m. flight back to the States.
He's a heck of a man.
Yeah. And finally, Aaron, last week, you and Brent took on the mantle of the Amigos.
That's right.
And soldiered on without me. Much like after I die, you guys will continue on.
Of all the pictures.
Yeah. you guys covered a game that, we've done. This was episode 233. We had not done a wrestling game on the Amiga since, I believe, episode 2, which I believe was Micro Prose Wrestling.
It's amazing. Did we never covered European Rampage?
No. So I was so looking forward to doing WrestleMania.
Oh, sorry.
But at the same time, I was glad you and Brent covered it because you guys definitely are the people that know wrestling games.
Well, Brent doesn't know jack squat about wrestling, but he knows garbage when he plays it, and by God, this is garbage. It was a real letdown, but we tried to have as much fun as you could possibly have with this game. And of course, I got to talk about wrestling for a long time to bore all the listeners, but we had fun. We had fun with it.
Yeah. And make sure if you're listening to the last week's episode, stay till the end because there's a great promo that is cut at the very, very end.
we were screwing around. We did that for the live chat, which we couldn't have, so that was a real bummer. But that's the way it goes.
All right, Aaron. As we come to a close here, I do want to thank all the fine folks here on Twitch.tv who have tuned in to watch us live. Pixels at Dawn, wielding the mod sword of doom.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's here with us. Of course, Edvin, cozily ensconced in the man cave. He's poured himself a brew or two.
Cozily ensconced.
Yes. Picard 2010 is with us, as always. We got Ricky DeRocher, go sub. Thank you again for that Twitch Prime subscription. And that reminds me, if you are a Twitch or if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber and you would like to support us, you get one free Twitch subscription a month. If you just log into twitch.tv, you can sub to the Amigos Retro Gaming channel and help us out. We've also got... Actually, I think that's it. I mean, it's a kind of a Ricky DeRocher, L. Curtis B.
is here.
A little bit, yeah.
What up, Curtis?
But yeah, kind of a thin chat as we come back after a couple weeks off. I understand, guys, but yeah, feel free to watch us live every Friday night around 5:30 Eastern time. We'd love to have you over at twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming. And it seems like it's been forever, Aaron. Our last Patreon song challenge, which I believe was like 3 weeks ago.
Oh gosh, I have no idea.
So we only had one winner, and it was Edvin Helen.
Oh, wait a minute.
It was Edvin.
Isn't there someone that almost perennially wins and then gives us little facts about the song?
Pac Billy.
Oh my gosh, he's not here tonight, is he?
Yeah, and
is Pac in here?
Pac is not in here. He did not get this one. Edvin sent me a message because our internet went down and his subject line was "What's going on?" I can only assume that he meant to answer the Patreon song, which actually happened after he sent that message, which was Marvin Gaye, "What's Going On?"
Was it?
It was.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good job, Edvin.
So
you're
Edvin,
some kind of weird savant.
He is. He's a very savantish savant. All right. So we come to this week's Patreon song challenge.
I hope this song's more upbeat than that one, and peppy.
You don't like you don't.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
It looks like it sounds like you're slowly melting. It's the reason I mentioned that. Because if we're gonna go to a love ballad, I'm gonna go out for a pizza. You know what I mean?
All right. So if you know the answer to this week's Patreon song challenge, feel free to send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com.
You sound like one of those midnight DJs.
I am a midnight DJ.
1:33 a.m. here on the Judge.
Did you ever listen to Delilah?
Ooh, Delilah. That song?
No.
Oh.
Delilah. She was on V100, like late nights.
Listen, I don't know. They're all the same, man.
Are they?
I was in the biz. I've met all these people. They're
Really?
all the same. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can introduce me when we go up to chords.
Listen, you need to get somewhere first.
Daniel Williams, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Zorg Love, Iron Wolf, Jorg Ben Goodness, Terry Howard, Reflection, Simon Letch, Kevin Crispy, Kilobytes and Caffeine, Mike W, Decker, 3 Point Gary, Heather Free, Lunch, Gate, Fox, David, Pickford, Cameron, Armstrong, Andrew Jones, Lobsterminator, 10 Minute and Amiga, Retro Cask, Verdon Quid, Retro Man Cave, Drew, Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Letter, Rob O'Hara, Howard Nibbs, Matthew Heller, Moore, and Craig, Sean, so Colin, 419, Bachbid, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, Joe Cook, Leaf, Caroline, Alan Kebab, Jack Cote, Level Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perry, Ricky DeRocha, Ricky the Keepy Dead Boy, I think it's CTZ. The Slow North, Stefan Sorghum Mortensen, Edvin Helen, Belinda 75, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Apple, Chris Folds, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham W. Vebke, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Doug Sauls, Tape from the Crib, Josh Dan and Bradley, Jonas Rouleau, THE Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy Hundertstad, Kendall Bingston, Bruno Barracuda, Darren Cole, Jason Warrens, Pixels of Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
Man, that was low down.
That's
bad.
how I break it down.
That you broke it down. You broke me down mentally.
Yeah. Aaron, next week we're going to be playing.
Don't talk about that.
This is a game that's near and dear to your.
This is named after you.
Naughty Ones.
Yeah.
Naughty Ones. It's about people that grew up in the early 2000s.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, it could be.
It's not. Give me a break.
All right. So, thank you all so much for listening.
You always demite yourself.
Hey, that's how I do it. Call me Eric Clapton.
No. That's an insult, Eric Clapton, in a huge way.
We'll see you guys next week. And until then, adios.